Hey 7th graders, and welcome to your first ever Amplify lesson in this class. As you guys can see, we're not going to be doing a whole lot in Amplify specifically. I like kind of arranging my thoughts in these PowerPoints instead. So even though you guys might see that we're doing something out of Amplify, like for instance today's 1.1 microbiomes, we're not actually going to be answering anything in Amplify. I'm really not a fan of how we grade in Amplify, so I like to grade out of these PowerPoints that I make up instead. So I'm going to introduce you as I go to kind of some of the features that I like to put into these PowerPoints, so you guys kind of know where to look and identify certain things, like where might I answer a question, or where can I find a video to learn all about this. So obviously if you guys are watching this video, you're probably not at school today, and you're making up this assignment, and you have already found this nifty little video down here that says watch me. As with any link, you probably right-clicked it and chose open link. Okay, obviously this is 1.1 microbiomes. That's how you guys will see it in PowerSchool as well. And your learning targets for today: I can organize organisms based on size and scale. So we're going to talk about how cell is small, and how small are the microorganisms that we find living in and on our body. Okay, so first off, we're going to start off as your bell ringer today. This is what we did in class for our bell ringer, by adding a new unit into our OneNote. Okay, so if you open up your OneNote, you can see that this little add section part is going to be each unit we do. We've already so far covered what is living, life, okay, what are we studying in biology, those kinds of things. And now we're going to be starting our microbiomes unit. So you'll need to click add section and title this microbiomes. Okay, there will already be an untitled page for you guys here. So you'll also need to click add page again. And you'll retitle this one vocab right here. And then click on your new page and you will retitle this one key concepts. Okay, jumping back into slide 2 of our assignment, you guys will note we have a unit question to add, key concept number 1, and then 3 vocab words to add. So if you read right here, add 2 new pages titled vocab and key concepts. Add organism, scale, microorganism to your vocab page. So you guys can click right on that picture of that vocab word. You can hit Control-C to copy it, or right-click copy. And then go into your notebook. All you'll need to do is go to vocab. You'll click, and then you can hit Control-V and it'll paste it right in there. So you guys can see I already have our vocab for today. I need to add scale as well, so I'll go ahead and show you guys how to do that. I'm going to click on scale. I'm going to hit Control-C on my keyboard, go into my notes, hit Control-V, and scale will pop up there for me. Okay, I can also size that to make it a little bit bigger if you guys would like. That's totally up to you and what your preference is as far as size and readability. Okay, so your 3 vocab terms for today: scale is the relative size of things. Organisms, as we know already by studying our first unit, which was life or living things. Organisms are living things such as plants, animal, and bacteria. So we have those 3 domains of life that kind of define all of our organisms that we may study in this class. Okay, and then finally, microorganism is an organism that is too small to be seen with the naked eye. So you can't just look and see a microorganism. You probably have to use a microscope to find these things. All right, so once you guys have these 3 vocab terms put into your vocab page, you'll add the unit question and key concept number 1 to your notes in the same fashion. So click on it, hit Control-C, go into your notes, go to key concepts, and notice our unit question is right here. How can having 100 trillion, that is 100 trillion microorganisms on and in the human body keep us healthy? But it doesn't seem like something that's going to keep me healthy is having a bunch of bacteria or other microorganisms growing in and on me. But in reality, it actually does, and we're going to learn about that and why that is in this unit. And then you should have added key concept number 1. Many organisms are microscopic, so small that they cannot be seen with the naked eye. So again, a lot of organisms, if we look at those 3 domains of life, both domain bacteria and domain eukarya are all microorganisms. And there are tons of kingdoms and tons of phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. There's probably more of those organisms in even just domain bacteria than there are in any of our eukarya. Okay, and then even some of eukarya, a lot of our protists are microorganisms, and you guys will see even some insects are microorganisms. Okay, So once you guys have those notes, we're going to go ahead and move on to slide 2. You guys, as you work through this video, you guys can pause as much as you need to get these little tasks done. So I'll explain an activity. Feel free to listen to me explain it, pause this video, and then go complete that activity while the directions are fresh in your brain. Okay, this next activity is pretty simple. For each of our Amplify units, we usually have some kind of underlying phenomena that we study. And in this case, we're watching a political campaign based around fecal transplants, which you guys are going to learn about here in a couple units. Okay, so you guys will right-click this link. Remember, if you're using a Chromebook, you guys right-click by tapping gently with 2 fingers. You'll get this little drop-down menu, and you'll select Open Link. And a YouTube video will pop up that looks a little something like this. So you guys can go ahead, pause this video, watch this video, and then when you're done, you can come back to this instructional video. All right, so you guys should have just finished watching the campaign. We're gonna move on to a little slideshow activity. So I have a little picture for you guys, and I want you to just pause and examine this picture. Okay, any ideas what this might be? What do you observe? How do those observations help you guys kind of maybe come up with an idea about what this is? So take a second, pause this video, and just stare at this picture for a little bit and see if you guys can kind of think of what it might be. All right, so some things you guys might notice. Maybe you know what these are, maybe you don't. Okay, it looks like we have some kind of little mouth. That's what it looks like to me at the very least. And inside of that mouth, we've got these little red, kind of like inner tube looking discs. For those of you guys who may know, those are red blood cells. Now you guys know if you didn't know before. So those are little red blood cells inside this organism. So what you guys don't know about this is actually a tiny organism that lives in the human body. Okay, if it's bad, it could hurt us, but we don't necessarily know if this is bad or not. Okay, it could be something very helpful. But obviously it's a little bit larger than a red blood cell because you guys can see the scale of that, how these are small red blood cells. So this must be some kind of microorganism, and this is some kind of picture taken from a microscope. Okay, these are really fancy microscopes. We would never have one in my class because it probably cost us a couple $1,000s. Okay, let's look at some more magnified pictures. So here is a human eyeball. Okay, it's pretty close up, but by no means is this magnified, right? We can see this with the naked eye. I think it's kind of cool to look at it though in its detail. If you guys have ever looked at an eyeball in its details, this little part that's colored is called your guys' iris. Okay, and that's actually a muscle. And when we have too much light, that muscle contracts and makes our pupil smaller, so we let in less of that light into our retina. So kind of cool to see all those little muscle fibers in there. And then, of course, with different colored eyes, you guys have different pigments in there, which we'll learn a little bit about in our genetics unit. All right, moving in a little closer. This is the same picture, except 50 times closer. So we've magnified this 50 times. These are actually our eyelashes. So these are the eyelashes coming out of our eyelids. Okay, so that's 50 times closer. So if you want to pause at any point and take a closer look at these, you're more than welcome to. This one is magnified 180 times closer. So you guys can see we have eyelashes here. And these little guys are fun, friendly little things called mites. So each and every one of you watching this video has eyelashes. And on your little eyelashes, you guys have these little mites, these little microscopic bugs living on your eyelashes. So I don't know how that makes you guys feel, but it kind of weirds me out. But obviously, if we don't know they're there, they're not hurting us. Okay, so everyone has those on their eyelashes. Okay, here's something that we can see with our naked eye. This is just a fingerprint close-up. If you guys have ever kind of stopped and examined your fingerprints, they're kind of cool. You guys can see it almost looks oily. These are the little ridges that you guys would see. All your skin has some kind of oil to some extent, and so if you guys touch something, you leave a print of that oil and those residues from your hands. And that's where you guys get fingerprints like what you would see in a crime scene. Okay, zoomed in 150 times. This is what one of those fingerprints looks like. So maybe one of those ridges that you see in your print, okay, is kind of this little bump here, and then these little pieces are all these little skin cells that slough off. This is one of my favorite facts to tell my kids throughout the year. Is I like to ask how many kids have the chore at home of dusting their house, and I usually like to look around and see how many raise their hand, and they say, do you guys know where dust comes from? And a lot of them say, oh, dirt, dog hair, stuff like that. But almost 80% of your dust in your house is actually skin cells from the people that live in that area. So if you guys have siblings, parents, guardians, whatever, okay, they are always getting rid of skin cells. Okay, they're sloughing off that top layer of their skin, and that's what you guys see floating through the air is chunks of dead skin. So that's really what most of dust is. So that's something for you guys to think about. Okay, and then you guys can see second layer of skin, so that's kind of fun. Okay, this is a fingerprint and a microorganism. So this is some kind of little bacteria or other microorganism that's growing amongst all of these skin cells, excuse me. So each one of those is a skin cell layered upon layered upon layered on top of each other. Okay, here's a naked eye picture of hair growing out of a human head. Here is that same picture magnified 1,300 times closer. So this is one hair growing out of the scalp. These are all the little skin cells of the scalp. Okay, here is a lice, or a louse as you guys would call it in the singular form. So if you've ever heard of anyone with hair lice or you've ever had it yourself, this is kind of what they look like zoomed in. Okay, so that's 1,250 times, so a little bit less than this guy here, but you guys can see what that little louse looks like. Okay, kind of crazy to think about that those things can live in and on our bodies. All right, so what you guys are going to do on this next section, this is called the Activity 4 Scale Card Sort. You guys have a series of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 pictures, 10 objects, and then 3 little word cards that you're going to sort out. So you guys sort these by clicking and dragging. You guys can see this arrow across the top of your slide. Your largest objects are going to go here on the right side. Your smallest are going to go on the left. They may not fit right next to each other all the way across, so you guys might kind of have to stagger them. Okay, so largest object, if I look at all of these, I can tell you right now that the largest object we have is going to be the human. Okay, on the other hand though, our smallest object that we're going to have is going to be a water molecule. So what I want you guys to do is go ahead and finish arranging these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 other pictures. Okay, based on what you think is the smallest to the largest. It's okay if you're wrong. Once you guys have those pictures kind of arranged from smallest to largest, then you guys are going to go ahead and figure out where these little pictures fit in. So this one right here, if I zoom in just a little bit, shows me kind of the line of what we can see with our naked eye and what we can't. So you guys are going to use this to separate 2 cards, one that you guys can see with your naked eye and one that you guys would need a microscope to see. And then where's a centimeter, where's a micrometer? You guys can kind of figure those out as well. Okay, so go ahead, pause this video for a second. Take a minute to do your best job sorting. Like I said, you don't have to be perfect. We're going to check it out here in a second. Okay, so sort that out, and then once you're done, you can hit play on this video and we'll move forward. All right, so you guys should have just completed this card sort, but now we're going to kind of check our answers. So on slide 15, you guys are going to right click and open this sim link. So go ahead and open it there. You guys will need to sign in to Amplify through Clever, and then just take a second to explore this sim. You guys can kind of see we have this little blue dot where we could zoom out and say, all right, here is the Milky Way. Okay, here is, you may just take a second to kind of load. Here is, oh, what are you? Looks like maybe the sun. Zooming in a little bit more. Oh, maybe that's the sun. That's actually the sun right there. Okay, here's, oh, there's Saturn, Jupiter. You guys can see how big the sun is compared to that. So just pause, take a second, and you guys can see our smallest things to our larger things up here. And then once you guys are done exploring this, we're going to use this to reconfigure our scale tool. All right, so you guys had this sorting activity to do, but we're going to make it right this time. So you guys kind of guessed on what you think might have been the smallest and largest on slide 14. On slide 15, you guys are going to use the scale tool to help you out. So we already know that the human's kind of the largest, so you guys could start here and say, all right, here's my human, okay? You guys can kind of do the things you guys can see with your naked eye pretty well because you guys can see them. You know how big they are. So let's zoom into what we can't see with our naked eye. We can click on this and say, all right, this is a grain of salt, and you guys can compare it to an amoeba. We watched a video the other day of amoeba eating paramecium. That was kind of a cool little video to see. Here is an eyelash mite. Okay, here is a width of a human hair. So you guys can kind of go through and use this scale to help you reorganize these. Again, we know that our largest thing is going to be our human being. I already told you that our water molecule is going to be the smallest. So figure out where blood cells sit in there, salt grains, human skin cells, the width of a human hair, ringworm, and the width of a DNA strand. Figure out where all of those fit in using that scale tool. So go ahead, pause this video, use that scale tool to help you reorganize these correctly. And then once you're done, we'll move on to our homework. All right, so moving on to slide 16, you have a little reflection here. You're going to be using the sim link as well. And you guys are going to reorder these things right here. Again, you guys should kind of have an idea of where they go. For this one, you guys can click and drag to reorder. Okay, so go ahead. You guys are going to go from smallest to largest. So your smallest items will be on the top and your largest will be on the bottom. Once you guys have done that, we're going to go ahead and complete the wrap up. I want you guys to do this for every assignment. Okay, you guys will use your draw tool. Any questions, you'll circle yes or no. Okay, if you say no, then you can move on to this part right here. If you say yes, then go ahead, click on your cursor and type any questions that you may have. Anytime you use the draw tool, it's always really, really important to remember to click back on your cursor. Okay, so if I'm erasing here, I'm going to go click on my cursor. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to click or open any other link. Okay, and then use your draw tool to circle 4, 3, 2, 1. How do you think you did on this? This isn't your grade that you're getting on this assignment. Okay, this is just an instruction to kind of let me know where you guys are at and maybe let you guys know where you're at, but it's not going to be the grade I give you. A lot of times you guys are doing better than you think you are. Okay, so go ahead, do this wrap up. And then turn this in and you're done. And then I just wanted to point out some last little features for you guys. Obviously you guys have explored links by now, but the big thing I want you guys to kind of observe with this is anytime you see this question mark on a slide, there's something you have to do there. In this case, you guys had to rearrange these for a grade. Okay, same with this one, you guys had to rearrange these for the grade. You guys might have a question that you need to answer. What you'll also see is a different colored font that says, hey, type your answer right here in this different colored font. Okay, so you guys would click next to that. You didn't get that whole chance to see that today, except in the wrap up, there's a place for you guys to answer right there. Okay, anyway, I hope you're all having a great day. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks.